So here's the point. You're creating a life with your words, with your life, with your leadership. And God, He creates something out of nothing, but He's giving you a head start. He's giving you something to use, He's giving you something to see, and He's giving you the ability within your DNA to create something that doesn't exist in the world the way that people see it. All right, welcome to the Todd Boffo Show. I'm excited today to talk about an incredible topic I know will change and transform your life, and that is you were created to create. You were created by God in Genesis in the very beginning, in the beginning. I want to read this scripture to you. You know, he goes, creates the whole world, and after He creates the world, after it's perfect, He puts man in it. He didn't create the water after He created fish. He created water, then the fish. He didn't create birds before the sky. He creates the sky, then He creates the birds. And in Genesis 1:26, it says He created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. God blessed them, said, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth, subdue it. So they were given charge over the earth, where the highest creation is mankind, not over everything in the earth, and said, rule over the fish of the sea, birds of the sky, and in every living creature that moves on the ground. So He left you and I in charge. And I want to point out a word that created there is a unique word, and it's going to matter to you. And I want you to think about this, because once you see it, you'll never read that verse again, and you will never look at it the same. Hopefully you'll never look at the man and woman in the mirror again either the same way, because the word is, in the beginning God created. It's this bara word, and that was the first introduction. Think about it, this is the first time we see God in Scripture is at the beginning, and we don't see Him as a judge, as a king, or as a teacher. The very first point we see God, we see Him as a creator, and that creation is not just what God does, it was who He is. He embodies creation. And since you were made in the image and likeness of God, you and I have creative power. It's in your DNA. There's the print that you're meant to leave on this planet, because there's a DNA in you that is a royal DNA, a spiritual DNA, it's a godly DNA. But here's the question, what are you creating with your life? What are you creating with your words? What are you creating with your leadership or your influence? I want you to think about this as you are, and I thought about this a lot, you know, at a certain stage when I was in my 20s, that I don't want to just live in a world that somebody else built. Some of you right now, you're living in a world that somebody else built. Now we got to put our time and energy. I'm not saying you never work for somebody else. I'm saying that you're bigger than just your job. That maybe there's a calling on your life and my life, but God created a world that He put inside of you, put inside of me. There's something that's supposed to come out of you, and yes, it could be in the context of serving another vision, but there's something that's on your life. And some of you watching this, you have creative power. You have a calling on your life. You were created to be creative, okay? To live something out that doesn't exist yet. Everything you do when you're making decisions and you're building your life, it didn't exist until you took what existed and put it together in a unique way to make it happen. That's how you create the experiences that you have. Sometimes you need money to do it. You need an idea. You need an opportunity. Well, all of those things exist in an infinite way in the universe and in this world. Did you know that? Aliens don't take all the money from the planet. There's more than enough money here. There's more than enough opportunities. There's more than enough ways to take what already exists that God gave us and to assemble it and put it together. This is a result of somebody deciding to take what exists and create and make something that doesn't exist. Everything you see around us, somebody created it, didn't exist. They took things that do exist to create something that didn't exist. Point number one is this, is that God creates out of nothing. He created something out of nothing. And it's this idea to bring forth something brand new that didn't exist. You know, He didn't need raw materials. If we see what the Bible says He used His word. That's why there's power in your words. You got to be careful what you say. Not freaked out about it, but if you have a chance, you're going to say something, might as well speak life. You know, some people, they tell you the story of their life, and they tell you how terrible it is, and then they tell you why it's going to be terrible. And they literally prophesied over and over and over again. They're like living Groundhog's Day. And it's no shocker, because they literally project that on themselves. It's like we walked into this room in the studio, and the lights were off, and all of a sudden the lights went on. That's what it's like when you start looking at a word from God, and I start to activate it, it's like all of a sudden, I've turned a light on. All of a sudden, I have a vision of something that didn't exist, and now I see that it can. Some of you are sitting on visions. You've had them. It's important for you to remember that you're supposed to create it. It's not somebody, you don't need somebody else to tell you it's okay to go do this. You don't need somebody else's permission to live your life. You don't need somebody else's permission to create. So, as leaders, and we did not create something. We are using something. We're not God in the sense that we create something from nothing. But you can create something from what other people call nothing. You know, in my book, I share a story about Cardone Industries, not Grant Cardone. This is Cardone, the automotive remanufacturer where I worked. And Mr. Cardone, the old man, was a mechanic, and he tells a story about how they took this motor, it broke, and he was trying to fix it, and he was trying to find the motor inside this window lift motor. They need to find the components. If they could find that, then he could just fix it. It would run like new again. He fixed that one part. That one part that he decided to fix and figure out how to do that. First of all, those old parts, when they were taken off of cars, they were junk. They were thrown away. Now we call them cores, and there's a core charge. They're worth something now. But partially because of what that man did. Because he took something that everybody else thought was nothing. And not only did he make something out that worked for his car, he started taking more of them. And he started expanding the product line, because guess what? Every car needs a window lift motor. Every car needs wiper motors. And guess what? They all break down at some point. He figured out a way to take something that was nothing and build it into an empire. I mean, when I was there in 2000s, they were doing over $1 billion in sales as a privately held company. They were giving away millions of dollars, hundreds, probably tens of millions of dollars, maybe hundreds, to charities and groups and doing all this, and yet still living a great life and employing thousands upon thousands of people in Philadelphia, is where I was. I got to work at the corporate headquarters, as well as all over, and they were all about developing people. Here's the point. There's probably some ideas that nobody else sees, but there's a reason why you see it. There's a reason why you see the things that you see. Don't discount the days of small beginnings, because everything big starts small. Him seeing that one part, him deciding I could probably fix it, him saying, well, I probably fix a bunch of these like this, and then him saying, well, if I could fix it with these parts, what would it be like to fix other parts? Build an empire with it. This is what leadership does. It says, I've been created to be creative. I need to create something, and I don't need to be freaked out about what's God put around me. Leaders see what isn't visible, and they have the ability to call it into being. You know, I've been blessed in my life to see God move in some incredible, incredible ways. So here's the point. You're creating a life with your words, with your life, with your leadership. And God, He creates something out of nothing, but He's giving you a head start. He's giving you something to use, He's giving you something to see, and He's giving you the ability within your DNA to create something that doesn't exist in the world the way that people see it. Number two, creation brings order from chaos. We almost need chaos. And Genesis talks about, hey, the world was formless and void, and God said, let there be light, let there be this, let there be that. It took, creation was God's answer for chaos. That's why when you show up, you have this creative power. It's not just creating like a table necessarily. You create solutions to problems. Everything that's created is a solution to a problem, fundamentally at its core. So I'm not just talking about creating a business necessarily. What I am saying is that you are a creative being also to solve problems, to take chaos and put a creational spin on it and actually solve problems and bring orders. As leaders, you're meant to bring clarity. You're meant to bring order. You're meant to bring something beautiful or something like intentional out of confusion. And this is what leaders do. You know, it's like an architect, if they turn blueprints into skyscrapers. You know, we did this project down at the Jersey Shores. It's Harvey Cedars, beautiful area. And it was like this whole cove, and it was only like a handful, like 4 houses, and they all shared a private beach. Beautiful home, 3 stories, had an elevator in it, private beach access, was gorgeous. Before they ever did anything, it was written down on a blueprint. There was already something written. There was already something established. There was already a vision, but there was no form to it. Matter of fact, if you looked at it, it wouldn't have looked like what the drawings were. If you looked at it, it wouldn't have resembled anything about what was in the dream or the heart of the architect. And I want to encourage you, it's the same thing with you in your life. What God sees is out here, and guess what? We're still in process. It's even bigger than what you've imagined. The scriptures put it this: no eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor has entered into the heart of man what God has in store for those who loved Him and are called to His purpose. That's my quick drum roll. Why? Because you're called to purpose, man. You guys are called to a purpose that's so much bigger than what you've experienced. And it's the same thing with blueprints. It's the same idea that we've been hardwired. You have this print, you have this DNA that's in the image and likeness of God. You have this DNA that you were created for a reason. And chaos is a canvas. This is this canvas that we see around us. And it's your job to take this chaos of canvas, it's like this wall here, and use the paints to actually restructure it, to reshape it, and actually turn it into something that's valuable, something that people enjoy, something that you enjoy. You know, we see this from the very first line in the Bible. You see God creates something from nothing. He's put that creative DNA inside of you. Maybe nobody ever told you that, or maybe you learned it somewhere, or maybe somewhere along the lines, you forgot how powerful you really are. You're only that way because God's powerful. We're not saying you're more powerful than God, but you are more powerful than you realize. You have actually more inside of you than what you realize. You have more inside of you than what you've even touched on yet. If He's placed this creative DNA in you, He calls you to bring order out of some chaos. He calls you to solve a problem. He's calling you to build something. He's calling you to do something. So when you step into your business, when you step into the boardroom, when you step into the classroom, when you step into your house or an industry meeting, remember, you're not just managing the situation, you are creating, that you even walk in with the understanding that I'm here because I've been sent to this place. You have been sent to life. You aren't just existing, you've been sent here. And if you're still alive, you have been sent. God has sent you, and He's given you this creative power. He's given you the power of the creator of all the universe to tap into. So you were created to create, and I want you to just think of yourself and ask yourself this: what will I create with my works? What will I create with my word? And how will my leadership, the things that I'm doing, people I lead, maybe it's in your house, I don't know where it is, but everybody leads somebody. Number one, yourself, but then there's this circle around you. What is my leadership? What is it that I'm doing that's going to outlive me? What is it that I'm doing to help somebody else with my creative power? What is it that's going to help them do what they're called to do? How is it I'm helping put wind in their sails? You know, I've traveled around the world doing all kinds of things. I remember one of our first meetings in Nicaragua, we were with the largest group of churches in the entire country. It was the Assemblies of God. There's nobody bigger in that particular country. And we're at their headquarters, and I remember sharing about what we were doing there and why we were empowering pastors. Look, at my core, if you ask me what I do, I'm an equipper. I'm helping people. I'm a purpose strategist. I'm helping them, helping you, people, regular people, find their purpose. That's what I've always done, one shape, form, or fashion. And so we talked about it, and they were talking about it from a national level, the things they were struggling with, the things that we were trying to address, the things they were trying to help their leaders in churches, and then the people in churches, the problems they were looking to solve. And you know what was pretty powerful is even as we were sharing, even though it was English and Spanish, didn't matter what language it is, didn't matter how, you know, like Nicaragua, by the way, is the second poorest country in this hemisphere after Haiti. So it's not like this, what some would say, land flowing with milk and honey, but what I would tell you is there's a lot of milk and honey there. Is that with God, they show up and all of a sudden they can see something different. You know, when the spies went from, they were in the desert for 40 years, they sent spies into the promised land. They said, hey, like go in and just check out, what do you see? Come back with a report. Come back and tell us what you saw. Moses did it. They all come back and they're like, hey, this isn't good. There's these giants in the land. There's this problem. There's this problem. There's this problem. There's this problem. They weren't lying. That was all true. But two people came back differently. They sent 12, but two people came back a little bit differently. Joshua and Caleb came back and they said, oh gosh, you're not going to believe this. They got grapes this big. They got a land flowing with milk and honey. They got so much opportunity there. Everybody saw the same thing, but the way they showed up was different. Because one showed up that we're here to create, we're here to occupy, I'm here to build something, I'm here to get something that I've never seen, to experience something I've never experienced, to be able to pass on something I've never been able to pass on. God's with us. This is a gift for us. Now, do I have to address the giants? Yeah. Do I have to address the war? Yeah, you're going to have to war for some of this stuff, but you're built for this, baby. You are built to accomplish. You are built for more. You are built to do this, not just for yourself. Yes, you're going to benefit from it. Yes, you're going to be able to see some benefits, but I want to challenge yourself. What am I building with my words? What am I building with my work? And what's my leadership? What is it that I'm leading and helping to build beyond my lifetime? You were created to create. Never forget that, because I don't care how low you are, God is still more for you than he is against you. He's got everything you need, and he's already pre-programmed you with everything you need to accomplish and at least get started. So thank you for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next time on The Todd Boffo Show.